around, get killed. You fuck around, you fuck around, you fuck around, get smoked. Cause these Philly niggas I pull with me don't fuck around, no joke. No, all I know is murder. All I know is murder.
Hey y'all, it's your boy Colin.
All I know is murder. All I know is murder.
Yeah, we're going to do a new podcast today. We're going to do a hip-hop rap podcast. Hey, let's face it. My Don't Make the Black Kids Angry material is not exactly setting the world on fire. Yeah, my books sell really well. Yeah, I get millions of people watching my videos every month. Yeah, this podcast is growing and growing as well. Yeah, when people talk about this kind of stuff all around the country now, when there's stories popping up on Twitter feeds, on Reddit, when anybody gets into a discussion about whether this is real or not, somebody's always saying, hey, you have to check out Colin Flaherty at Don't Make the Black Kids Angry podcast, or just go to hisminds.com/Colin Flaherty page. That'll do it.
All I know is murder. All I know is murder.
Okay, so, we're doing pretty well with that. But let's face it, are we doing as well as Meek Mill does?
All I know is murder.
This guy's in jail. All he does is go around and rapping about guns, drugs, money, bitches, and murder. He gets enormously popular. They play this song about guns, drugs, money, bitches, and murder before every Philadelphia 76ers basketball home game. Here's a little excerpt from it.
Fuck around, get killed. You fuck around, you fuck around, you fuck around, get smoked. Cause these Philly niggas I pull with me don't fuck around, no joke. No, all I know is murder.
Yes, you fuck around and you get killed. I'm all about murder, or whatever the hell he just said. That was the major theme song of the world champion, Super Bowl champion Philadelphia Eagles, on the field and off the field, in the locker room. I know they had a lot of guys after the game going, yes, I believe in the good Lord Jesus Christ. That's why we're here. No, you weren't listening to gospel music. You guys on and off the field were listening to this song by Meek Mill.
All I know is murder. All I know is murder.
He's in jail. Now everybody's pissed off. They don't think Meek Mill should be in jail because they know that the judge who put him there, that judge is a racist, corrupt judge. They know that the cop who arrested him, well, one of many cops who has arrested him over a period of 10 years, they know that cop is racist and corrupt. So why can't we just let him out? Man, there's so much misunderstanding about all the good work and all the good feelings that hip-hop engenders. There's a good example up in Sacramento, California recently. Some white chick and her black husband decided they're going to start a yoga studio in downtown Sacramento. I think they called it Soul Fire or something like that, SOLFIRE. Had the word soul in it. So they're doing their yoga classes, they're getting in touch with the universe. So somebody came up with this brainstorm. Hey, let's get down with the real people. Let's do some hip hop during yoga class. What better way to get in touch with the oneness of the universe than listen to songs about guns, drugs, money, bitches, and murder? Well, the black people in Sacramento, no, they did not like that. Black people do not like it when white people do yoga and listen to rap music. Good Lord, I thought everybody already knew that. They should have asked me. I would have told them, since I'm now the newfound expert on hip hop and rap music. Hell, I know who Meek Mill is. Doesn't that make me an expert?
All I know is murder. All I know is murder.
Why don't we listen to this news story out of Sacramento? See what the lovely ladies, the lovely white chicks, trying to get away with by stealing black music and putting it in a yoga studio. Oh no, that ain't happening. Not on my watch.
My wife and I, we listen to rap music in our home. And we enjoy the music, we respect the music, we love the music.
Daryl Spence's wife is the one who came up with the idea to hold a rap yoga class at Soulfire Yoga in Midtown Sacramento.
She wanted to marry her love with hip-hop with her love of yoga and combine the two and teach a class with a hip-hop theme.
But the idea of a white woman teaching the class did not sit well with everyone.
So it wasn't an instructor here, he's at another studio, but he was speaking out against the cultural appropriation, and he did it very peacefully.
Saturday, dozens from the Sacramento chapter of Black Lives Matter occupied the space in front of Soulfire Yoga, allowing customers to enter and leave peacefully while handing out these flyers. calling the owners of the studio cultural appropriators.
Historically, rap music has been a way of expression for black folks to talk about the pain that they go through in their neighborhoods and their lives. We're just trying to make change, and we're trying to get them to acknowledge what they're doing and be accountable.
Tanya Faison, founder of the Black Lives Matter Sacramento chapter, contacted the studio owners, asking them to cancel the class.
We never had it.
Co-owner Ellen Moe tells Fox 40 they did.
After our dialogue with Black Lives Matter and with the teacher, we made the decision, myself and my business partner, to cancel the class.
Moe says they went a step further, releasing an online apology and talking with the instructor who originally complained, as well as Black Lives Matter. She and her instructors also attended a class on racism through the nonprofit Yoga Seed Collective. But demonstrators still showed up to her business on Saturday.
Kind of just like a feeling like no matter what happens, no matter what we do or don't do, there's just, it appears to not be good enough.
Faison and other members of BLM say they are not convinced this won't happen again.
They gave us information to try to pacify us, but they continue to keep doing what they're doing, and they're not willing to work with us to make some kind of change in what they're doing. They've been doing it for a couple of years. So.
Meanwhile, Spence questions why his wife's now canceled class continues to be the focus of this group.
When it comes to policing yoga studios over who can play hip-hop and who can't, I think that goes far afield, and I think that steps outside of what I envision Black Lives Matter to stand for.
Now, we did reach out to the other yoga instructor who originally complained and to the studio he most recently worked at. Black Lives Matter has claimed that he was forced out of his job there because of all this, but his name is still on the online schedule, and we did not hear back from either him nor the studio.
Isn't it amazing that somebody can just, you talk about cultural appropriation, and I mean, in the name of cultural appropriation, you can just come in and claim ownership of something that you don't own, you had nothing to do with. I mean, every once in a while over on the YouTube channel, more there than here, we ran into a copyright issue. Okay, I was okay with that. I mean, I'm a big supporter of copyrights and property rights. Saying they're the same thing, right? And without copyrights, artists would not be able to make anything and capture their value, etc., including Meek Mill. But now this chick, what's her name? Faison? You didn't see her, but she was, well, it's funny. You heard her, though. Did you? When you heard her, the person who's head of the Black Lives Matter chapter in Sacramento, on the first time around when she was talking about this remarkable indignity being visited upon black people at this yoga studio, the first time around you heard her say, well, rap music is something that they use, referring to black people, they use to talk about their pain and blah, 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 whatever the words people are using about that this month. Whatever the words people are using to excuse this enormous level of black criminality and dysfunction this month, that's what she was using. But she said black people were they. Isn't that weird? I mean, well, she says they because her mom is white. Her dad is black. Her mom is Greek. Her dad took off right after the birth. I don't think she's ever known her dad. And I was talking with Jesse Lee Peterson about this on the radio this week and on his show this week, and it's kind of a reminder, like, you know, if we just go back to basics, I mean, people have issues that from childhood that play out in real life. You have daddy issues. That's why you're holding a megaphone in front of a yoga studio in Sacramento, bitching at white girls trying to make a living. Good Lord, do you think anybody's getting rich on a yoga studio? The margins you're working on, the razor's edge you're working on to keep your doors open, that's your life dream. And all of a sudden you have this ignorant person from something called Black Lives Matter who's not even black, comes in there and says, I'm representing black people. We don't like it when white people do yoga to rap music because we own rap music and hip-hop music. We own that.
Fuck around, get killed. You fuck around, you fuck around, you fuck around, get smoked. Cause these Philly niggas I bought with me don't fuck around, no joke. No.
Well, here's a little lesson for you. You don't own anything in the United States unless you can pull a piece of paper out of your hand and say, oh yeah, here's my deed to it. Here's my right to that music. Here's my right to that song. You don't own that. That's a little thing we call socialism. It doesn't really work out that well because people like you administer it. Well, that belongs to me, Colin. I didn't have anything to do with it. I hope Meek Mill doesn't mind that I'm telling everybody I own this music. And isn't it weird that the black people in Sacramento, one even wrote a big newspaper column saying, oh yes, she might not be black, but she really represents black people. That's fine with us. So this chick is the designated black person that goes down to the city council. She goes, yes, police are racist. She's the one that goes into the streets or on the sidewalks with a megaphone and says, yes, police are racist. All white people are racist. And now they're trying to stop her from doing business. And nobody in Sacramento will stand up for that. Yoga owner. Okay, she's goofy. She plays rap music extolling guns, drug, money, bitches, and murder in her classes. Oh no, Colin, we don't play that kind of music. We play the other kind of rap and hip-hop. We only play the kind that extols guns, drugs, money, and bitches. We don't do it if it extols murder. Well, we can't really tell what the lyrics are, and so sometimes the murder gets in there, but we really don't approve of murder in our yoga studio. Okay, those people are goofy. They're down with the cause. They thought the cause is down with them. You know how that turns out. Never well. But there's nobody in Sacramento. Everybody's folding like a cheap suit. Nobody's going to stand up for these yoga people. Nobody's going to push back against these ridiculously oppressive clowns that are part of this group called Black Lives Matter. Nobody? Okay then, I guess you guys get what you deserve then. This is not the first time we've been to Sacramento. We have a lot of listeners and viewers in Sacramento. Sacramento is if you've ever been to Sacramento, I've been there a lot of times. It's the state capital of California. So I've been there kind of on business things. I'll tell you something, man. That place is huge. I mean, the biggest employer, that's like the state capital of, France. That's like the capital of France or something. That's how big it is. My father-in-law was a member of Congress. So we went up to Sacramento. He wanted me to go up with him. So we went up the day Gray Davis was sworn in as governor of California. This was right after Pete Wilson left. So we're walking around the halls of Sacramento with one or two other people that were on his staff. I don't know why we were there, but we were there. I was just walking with him. We were just chatting people up. People would come out of the offices. They knew who he was. And all of a sudden, we were just walking around. The head of the state Senate, John Burton, the Democratic head of this, I guess you would call, I don't know what you would call the head of the state Senate. But he came out and he goes, "Hey, Van, how you doing? Come on in, man." So he dragged us into his office. We go into John Burton's office. This is Sacramento. And it's like you're in the office of some, third world dictator. First of all, it's huge, right? Huge. It's ornate. Lots of wood carvings, lots of stuff over the fireplace, big desk. But as big as the desk was, it was dwarfed compared to the size of the room. This was like a potentate's room. Somebody mentioned I might have not been down with his cause of ruining the state of California. So he started to badger me. I was kind of expecting John Burton to be a well-mannered and gracious person. I wasn't expecting to be badgered, but I kind of held my own regardless. Anyway, so we're walking around. Next thing you know, we're in the governor's office. And he's being sworn in somewhere else, but we're in there. And this is the day they bring all the state workers in, right? That first day, there's a lot of stuff going on. Because when the governor, when he walks back into his office, there better not be any traces of the previous occupant, especially when they change parties, and that's what this was. So I think there were a couple of San Diego guys in the office. That's how we ended up there, and they're talking to him and whatnot. Anyway, so all the workers are in there taking down all the plaques that Pete Wilson had up there. Pete Wilson had the Governor Ronald Reagan cabinet room. There's a plaque in there. Take it down. There was a bust of Ronald Reagan. Take it down. And while they were taking it down, the chief of staff and the high-ranking officials who were not at the inauguration, they were sitting there kind of laughing at Reagan, laughing at this whole thing about kind of what a dunce he was and how easy it was going to be for them to govern because he was an idiot and he didn't know what he was doing. That didn't turn out too well for Gray Davis, but that's Sacramento. It's a company town. It's a liberal town. It's a town run by the hyper-liberals who run the state of California. When I say that, I mean the teachers' union and public employees' unions. That's who runs the state of California. Those are the people who go first and foremost, and those are the ones who run for and by those people. Now, you throw a few environmentalists in there, you throw a few other groups of people in there, the blacks, Hispanics, whatever, but everybody knows where the money's coming from. Everybody knows who's paying the bills to keep the machine rolling. It's the public employee unions. When you have like a dominant thing in a town like that, everybody kind of knows which way the wind blows, even if you don't need a weatherman to know which way the wind blows. You don't know. You know that, of a bunch of black people, 5 or 10, in this case, there's only like 5 black people or 5 white people there. You're not going to push back on that. Because that's a company town where the company's business is liberalism, public employee unions, and identity politics. So how many stories have we done in Sacramento, South Sacramento? We've probably done 10 or 20 in the last 2 years. And most of the stories in Sacramento we do are black on Asian violence, especially in a part of town called South Sacramento. Black people are targeting Asian people for home invasions, for robberies, for burglaries, for beatings. I don't know about murder, but I know a lot of people have been beat up really badly. Lots of people are getting followed home from their businesses. Lots of people are kind of being targeted, and everybody kind of waits around till they see their moment to strike. Maybe it's a woman coming back from work at 8 o'clock or 9 o'clock at night. All this is on video. And the people and the Asians who live in Sacramento, they're not really that active in politics or public affairs. They're active in their own lives with their own families and their own business associations. They're active with their customers. A lot of them own businesses. They're active with their restaurants. And so they're still living in this kind of idealized version of America they may have read about on the pamphlet when they were crossing customs into the U.S. for the first time. It's like, yeah, the police are your friend. If you have a problem, just call the police. They'll take care of it. Get their mind around the fact that black people continue to target Asians in Sacramento, and the cops don't really care that much. Oh, they come out every 3 or 4 months for a meeting. 500 Asian people in a room. The cops and the city councilman the first time around, they go, "Oh yeah, no, we don't like this. Oh no, we're going to stop this right away. So, and by the way, keep your head on a swivel and don't wear earphones because it's your fault that you're being attacked." Then they have more meetings, fewer people show up, and the more meetings you have and the fewer Asians show up, the more public officials feel like they can tell the truth. And finally, when you get to the 3rd or 4th meeting, you get to the white city council members who represent the area. They're the liberals who are down with the cause. They're the ones explaining that, Sacramento is really a lot safer today than it was last year. And these things are isolated all of a sudden. They're explaining everything away and nothing really happened. And the Asian people are sitting there incredulous. They're looking at each other. They had the same experience recently in Philadelphia when they passed a law saying the city can now take the plexiglass down in these ghetto liquor stores, these ghetto convenience stores. They're looking at each other going, "Hey, is this America? Are they trying to protect us, or are they exposing us to danger?"
All I know is murder. All I know is murder. All I know is murder. All I know is murder.
And all we got in Sacramento from the people on the city council are functionaries of the liberal business of the city. All they got from them was excuses about what's happening for the crime and why they're working really hard and why it's continuing to happen and why, we just can't do anything about it, and why, if we do catch somebody, we have to let them out very soon because, of course, maybe you don't know because you're nothing but a dumb Asian person. Maybe you don't know about the 4,000, 4 million years of hostility and racism that has been inflicted on these black people. And that's why they're bunking you on the head. And I'm really sorry about it, but there's not that much we can do about it. That's Sacramento. Now they show up again in front of some 30-something-year-old woman who has a, if you see the picture, I'm going to post this on my Minds.com page in a day or so. Minds.com/Colin Flaherty. Get over there and subscribe. And subscribe to this too. I mean, if you see the pictures of the studio, I mean, you know, it's a nice place. Somebody put some money into this place. They put some thought into it. They hired a designer. Everything looks, you know, like it's supposed to be there. I don't know why they're playing hip-hop music there. But that's the funny thing about the United States. It's called freedom. You're supposed to have it. And you're supposed to have it especially when people who basically are on the side of the lawbreakers, on the side of the criminals, on the side of the anarchists, on the side of the people who like to beat and kill cops, when they show up at your business and say, oh no, we're going to shut you down because we don't like the music you play. Oh yeah, we're now part of the music police. You know, the people that own this studio, they had no idea they were living in that world. They had no idea that's the world they were living in. You could hear it in the voice of the woman who runs the studio. She's married to a black guy. That's who you heard speaking at the beginning. Spencer, I think his name is. And he talks about how, well, they've gone far afield. I didn't think Black Lives Matter was supposed to do that. Hey, welcome to our world, where liberals are always sticking their noses in things they don't know anything about. It's not just a bunch of black people and their white buddies showing up in front of a yoga studio and saying, we don't approve of your music, so you have to shut it down. And even if you shut it down, I think we'll stick around a while longer and try to ruin your business. That's the complaint word for word that people who try to open a business in California, big or small, get every day. They're subject to this ridiculous level of harassment and threats and legal proceedings that are driving businesses out by the bucket load. Look, I lived in California for a long time. I left 10 years ago. I still have friends who run and own big businesses out there. Every single one, the only reason they're still there is because they're locked into these long-term leases. Long-term, big old equipment sitting there. So to break the lease and to move the equipment would be too big of a deal. But every single day, they're looking east. They're looking over the border. They're saying to themselves, well, where can we go next? Because this is not sustainable here. They all look at somebody like what happened to that small business in Sacramento, and nobody came to their defense. Everybody recognized that's the new normal there. They recognize they're vulnerable to the same kind of thing, not just from Black Lives Matter, but from the Sierra Club, from this group, from that group, from anybody who can get more than 3 people together with a sign and a megaphone. Everybody knows this is a place that is hostile to human endeavors. They're hostile to entrepreneurs. They're hostile to people who actually earn a living and make a living. Is that chick Tanya Faison? Does she have a job? Does she have a job? Does she have a job other than going around policing what people listen to? She's the self-appointed audio police. She's the self-appointed guardian of the police. The real police in Sacramento. Does she ever speak out in her capacity as the spokesman for all the black people in Sacramento? Do you think she ever speaks out for her people and says, hey, my people, would you please stop robbing and assaulting and killing the Asian people in Sacramento? It's kind of making the rest of us look bad. God, what a level of narcissism you must have to think just because you can go to Home Depot and pick up some plywood and a magic marker or some construction paper and a magic marker and make a sign, that makes you the leader of the people. We saw that with Amoroso, the former White House staffer, this week. all of a sudden, she leaves the White House and she now has appointed herself the spokesman for my people. She says, that's the term she uses, my people. So when she was in the White House, she wasn't really there working for Trump. She was really there working for my people. I mean, did anybody know that except for her? It is amazing. I mean, I've worked for a lot of politicians and staff jobs and as consulting jobs. But it's amazing how many people, when you go to work for a politician, after being there about a year or 2 or 3, all of a sudden it's like they feel like they're not really working for the politician anymore. Everybody has their own people get their own cause. So all of a sudden, instead of being the one to take, to accomplish the politician's goals in whatever community he wants to influence, it turns out to be the opposite. They become like they become like an informal lobbyist for that group to the politician. This happens a lot with the fellas, with the hermanos, with the environmentalists. It happens a lot with people who run these self-appointed community groups. They get these staffers in these offices. They go in and say, oh, the people in blank neighborhood need this and they need that and they need this and they need that, and they're going to be pissed off if we don't give it to them. And I used to see that all the time, and I was always going, wait a minute, how did this get flipped around? How did you get to be the one that works for them? I thought you worked for this guy, not those people. Why are you representing them? Do you think you're an honest broker now? Is that the way it works? And that's what we see. That's what we see among lots and lots of black activists in this country, is that everybody's aspiring to be the next black leader of their people. Something like Moses out of the Bible. Self-appointed. Self-important. Narcissistic. That's a mental illness. When Michael Savage wrote a book, Liberalism is a Mental Disorder, he wasn't exaggerating to make a point. He was talking about a real thing that happens to people who become hyper-liberal in our world today. Jesse Lee Peterson the other day reminded everybody what we already knew. These people have issues. The woman has daddy issues. I'm mad at daddy, thus I hate white people. How else do you explain some person running around on the streets of Sacramento trying to convince everybody that a person that owns a private business isn't allowed to listen to hip-hop music? Isn't it amazing how when you start talking about things like cultural appropriation or racial identity, how tissue thin everything is? That's why nobody wants to talk about it. That's why the crazy people don't want to talk about it. They recognize on some level how tissue thin it is. Oh, cultural appropriation. Oh, did you invent the microphones? Did you invent the system of distribution? Did you invent the instruments? Oh, black people invented poetry now. Wow. Or are you just claiming to have invented them? Do you really believe you invented this whole hyper technology that makes your music possible? And that's all a black thing. I mean, do white people go around going, hey, I invented that microphone. So that dude is appropriating it from me. I invented that mixing board. Hey, I'm the one who invented that wire that makes the music go from here to the computer in a lot more efficient fashion, where we lose a lot fewer bits of information. Yes, I invented that. I invented the legal system that allows black people to be paid for their music. Do white people go around saying that? No, because people who say that are insane. So that kind of brings us back to the beginning. It's like, okay, here they are, the hip-hop people going crazy out there. And the beginning and end of all these podcasts is really, I know a lot of people out there are just going, hey, what can we do? What can you do? First of all, this is my standard warning. Maybe I should just stop giving it. I mean, if you want to get fired from your job, maybe I should just say, yeah, go get fired. Go talk about this in your cubicle. Go post these videos in the lunchroom. Go put my books on everybody's chair in your lunchroom. That'll be good. just get fired because that's a good thing to do. No, I don't want you to do that. If you can't do all those things I just said, support people who can. Jesse Lee Peterson and me and I, for example, we've set up our lives where nobody's going to tap us on the shoulder and say, hey, Colin, HR wants to talk to you about that book you've been talking about at work. No, support us. Lots of different ways to do that. But really, remember, everything's so tissue thin. There is no fallback. There is no answer to the secondary questions. So just ask questions. Don't be in a hurry to take your point of view and throw it in somebody's face. If somebody's talking about something as ridiculous as Sacramento, aren't we entitled to ask, oh, great, we're now giving random, this is a good use of the word random. We're now giving random black people, the ability to go up to random businesses and shut them down, put them out of business because they do not approve of their music choice. That's what we are doing now. That's okay with you? Ask them. Let them explain it, because you can't explain any of this crap beyond the first emotional, here's my emotional knee-jerk response. Please don't ask me any questions or I will accuse you of a microaggression. If you listen to the story we did on Costa Rica earlier this week, where the 10 women went down there, part of a regular retreat for black women who hate white people. They want to get away from them. One of the things that we're hearing this more on college campuses too, to ask a black person a question is now an act of micro or macro aggression. To ask them to justify or explain the ridiculous, emotional, unlogical things they say is an act of aggression. You know what? That's the only defense they have, because what they want cannot be explained. Not within the framework of anything resembling sanity. Oh, Miss Faison? Yeah, we got a problem with some music over at the gas station. Yeah, I pulled in the other day, and they were playing some Lawrence Welk. And, well, that's German music, and that's culture. I heard the polka, heard the, what do you call it, the squeeze box, the accordion. Yeah, they were culturally appropriating that. Then I went to the Mexican restaurant, and I heard the same music, except people were singing Mexican songs over top of it. Oh, you didn't know the Mexican ranchero music is basically directly imported from Germany? Next time you hear some Mexican music, eliminate the words and just listen to the music. What you hear is bum, 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 bum. And you hear an accordion. It's like you're sitting in the middle of Bavaria and people are dancing around with lederhosen on. That came because all the Germans went to Mexico and that's where they established the Mexican beer industry. Lots of Germans moved to Mexico. Boy, what a decision, 100 or 200 years ago, or 150 years ago. People are going, okay, we know there is more opportunity outside of Germany outside of Europe than in Europe. Where should we go? Somebody said, hey, let's go to Mexico. Yay. A bunch of people went there. A lot of people went to South America. Yay, let's go there. Hooray. Oh, man, what a mistake. Every single one of those people are now going, man, why didn't my ancestors choose the United States? We could have made a lot more money and had a lot more of a peaceful life there. Admittedly, we probably would have to worry about some know-nothing half black, half Greek chick coming up to our business at random times and accusing us of culturally appropriating that German music, but hey, we could get over that. Wow, what crazy times we live in. What a challenge for you and for me and for everybody to live in these crazy times. To be sane, to be rational in a crazy time, even if we're the only rational person within a half a mile around. This morning I was reading my little nextdoor.com page on my neighborhood. Somebody posted, when people post these things, they're always in a panic, right? It's like, hey, somebody was out last night. I heard shattered glass. Then I went out there and there was a black dude with a shopping cart. This is in your classic gentrified neighborhood, and I follow their stuff too. That's like one long episode of crime violence excuse, crime, violence excuse. So what happened to this person who recently moved into the neighborhood? It's called Tilton Park. And they're going, oh my God, this happened. He was out there. I didn't know what to do, blah, blah, blah. And all the other people in the neighborhood came by. And they go, oh, don't worry about it. He's just trying to earn a living. And then somebody else came in and said, yeah, he threatens me. He said he was going to do all these bad things to me if I called the cops on him. Somebody else said, oh, no, he's just earning a living. We know who he is. Don't worry about it. That's insane. That's suicidal. Suicidal is, by definition, insane. And now that's what we have in Sacramento, in the liberal capital of America, where black people are running up and down harassing businesses because they don't approve of their music. And TV stations take cameras, put them in their face, and they go, The reporter's sitting there like, yeah, you know what? I never really thought about it that way. That makes a lot of sense. What are they going to do when they show up at your TV station? What are you going to do when they show up and they start putting complaints in your file at the Federal Communications Commission, the one that regulates TV licenses? That's the one thing general managers of local TV stations dread above all. They don't want anybody coming in and putting a letter in their box going, oh yeah, you guys are not down with the cause. You're not reporting, all the great things black people do. All you do is do stories about black criminality. You're a bunch of racists. You should lose your license. That's the worst case scenario, because once you get more than a few of those letters in, people that have the ability to pull that license will yank your license, or they will come and talk to you. And when they do, there's only about 10 things that can happen. 9 of them are bad. The best thing that's going to happen is they're going to walk out leaving you with a fisheye going, well, you've got to do better. That's essentially what just happened to this yoga studio. We're all just sitting there going, yeah, that's fine. It's fine with me. Sure. Oh, what about those black people that are targeting Asians down there? Oh, don't worry about that, Colin. We got that under control because crime's down. Crime's down because, the black people are all too busy trying to shut down white people that have businesses. So we don't have to worry about the Asians. Don't worry about them. Wow. I've been trying to keep these podcasts a little bit shorter, but sometimes, when we're reeling with the feeling, it just goes on and on. But I was looking through some of my older interviews the other day. I came across this one, not from Sacramento. It came from Tennessee. It's just a small story about a woman whose life was made hell by a bunch of black people who attacked her and continued to harass her and attack her, and the story ended just as poorly as you could imagine. Why don't we just give that a listen? With so many cases of black mob violence and black-on-white crime around the country, I have to pick and choose which ones I want to talk about in order to illustrate some aspect of this incredible epidemic that is going on unacknowledged around the country. Hi, this is Colin Flaherty, author of Don't Make the Black Kids Angry. Here we talk about black mob violence, black-on-white crime, all without racism, without rancor, without apologies. So here we come to the case of a woman named Helen in North Carolina. I did a video about this the other day, but I had a chance to talk to her on the phone and I recorded it. Her family was the victim of long-term harassment, violence, and theft, culminating in an episode of black mob violence in front of her house where these group of black people were attacking her children. She was charged. Her neighbor came out to her offense with a baseball bat. He was charged. And this is just about the craziest case I've ever heard, but not the only case I ever heard. I've got a whole chapter in Don't Make the Black Kids Angry about people who are victims of black mob violence and black-on-white crime who are then charged after they are the victims. Give a listen.
I moved here at the beginning of the school year last year.
From where?
From not too far away from here. but the lady I was renting from was selling her house, so I had to move somewhere else. So I moved here, which is a street that I have family on this street. I used to play in this road when someone would babysit me on this street. My road is a white road. There's no black people on this road, but the road behind me and all around me there's blacks, but I didn't, I've never had, I should have known. I had my doubts and fears because I have boys, and I know that, anyway. I moved here, and about 3 months after we were here, one of the little black kids, two of them came to my door and wanted to know if my youngest son was home because they ride the bus and went to school with him. This would be Nigel Hitchcock. And they came over and wanted to know if they could play games, and he was nice, and yes, ma'am, and they were hungry. I made them all grilled cheese sandwiches and fed them, and they came over maybe one other time, and when they left, we started noticing, my kids were like, Mom, have you seen my charger or my flash drive or my this or that? And I'm like, no. Well, it's gone. Well, you know what? If it's gone, then we know where it went because that's the only people that's been here. So then it got to where when they would come over, we'd tell them, no, we're going somewhere, something like that, just so, we didn't cause no trouble, didn't want no trouble. And then after a little while, maybe a month later, one of the little black kids, they came to my house. Hush, Mama, don't say nothing, I'm on the phone. They came to my house, and my sons went to the door, and they said, my mom's not here, we can't have company. And they pushed their stuff on in. And it took my 16-year-old, he said, Mom, it took everything I had to get them back out the door. And when he got out, pushed them off the porch and told them not to come back in his yard, they jumped him then. And then I put a video camera in my backyard to catch them, who all it was. So a couple days later, my son's getting off the bus, and I have an empty house beside of me. One of the black kids is hiding in the bushes with a BB gun shooting my kid as he's walking down the road. So I got him on camera, the one with the BB gun that was hiding in the bushes. So all that fussed over, and I thought, all right, everything was done. And then 3 weeks ago, when I was on my way home from work, my neighbor was standing in the middle of the road flagging me down. He said, don't you live right there? I said, yeah. He said, 5 seconds ago there were 4 black kids going around your house trying to open up all your windows. And they weren't here when I got here. So, okay. And then a week later after that, me and my oldest son were going to cook out to get some dinner. And my youngest son wanted to stay here and play video games because that's my kids are video gamers. And we were leaving, and we seen the black kids as we were leaving. So I said, let's call Chase and tell him that they may come up there since they think nobody's there. And I called him and told him, I said, Chase, act like you're not there. Don't even go to the door. So he said he hid under his blanket so they couldn't even see him through the cracks of the window. He said they opened the window, and they looked through, and they seen all my child's stuff. They got a big BB gun in there. And then they started coming in they was going to get it, I guess, or steal whatever we had that they wanted. And my son lifted out from underneath his cover and said, what are y'all doing? And they took off and went through the backyard. And then Monday, my older son went and confronted them. They said it wasn't them. And my older son said, well, just stay out of yard. Don't come back to our house. And then Monday, when my son got off the bus, there was a 14-year-old boy and a 16-year-old girl waiting for him that haven't been going to school because they've been too busy selling drugs, 14 years old. And one got on each side of him. And the girl said, we about to do this? And he said, oh, yeah. And my son has a fist pocket of fluid on his brain. He's never been able to play sports. He has to sit out in gym sometimes so he doesn't hit his head. He took off running down the road. And while he's running, the girl is yelling, get that white boy, get that white boy. He slams the front door open and yells for his brother, Nick, they're trying to jump me. My heart, I could tell in his tone something was wrong. I was way back here in the kitchen. So I go around the corner, and I see them going out the door, so I'm going to go see what's going on. And I see the black kids in the road. So I run to get ahead of my children.
How many?
There were two in the road. And I know these 2 kids that were in the road because these are the 2 that I made grilled cheese sandwiches for. And I went and I put my finger.
Were these kids from the bus stop?
Yeah, these are kids from the bus stop.
So did one of the people that was at your house with the grilled cheese sandwich was a girl?
That were befriending us months. Yeah, and then when they started stealing from us, we told them they couldn't come back over.
Gotcha.
Yeah. I went out there got between them and my kids, and I said, look, quit messing with my youngins. We don't mess with you. We don't try to break into your house. Leave us alone. And he was saying, I'm tired of y'all white people killing my brothers. And I said, what?
Who said that?
Are you? Nigel. Nigel said that.
Who said
that? And I said, are you crazy? And he got in my face, and he spit on me. And
how old is Nigel?
14.
Okay.
14 years old. He spit in my face, and he put his hand down his pants. He said, bitch, I got a gun. I'm going to blow your fucking brains out. I looked at my neighbors because I had neighbors on the porch because it was a beautiful day here. And I said, call the cops. And then he started, like, hopping and bouncing around me like a little thug, trying to get closer to my youngest son, and he punched him in the head. And when he did, my older son went to push him back. And when my son pushed him back, 8 or 10 people came running from across from his road, which is right behind my house, and started beating us down, got us on the ground, started kicking and stomping. I thought we were going to die. Matter of fact, I knew we were going to die. And my neighbor, who was doing some tile, he yelled at him first, get away. Y'all ain't got no business over here. And they wouldn't stop. So he got a baseball bat out of his van, and he hit it on a rock to make the loud noise. And when he did, they looked up, and, I was able to get mine and my kids up, and, come on, let's back up, And they said, you want some, old man? And then they went and started attacking my neighbor, busting out windows of his house, his car, throwing big, humongous boulder rocks, pieces of a fence timber. I don't know. It was big, and I don't even know. I looked at him when he picked it up, like, what are you going to do with that? You can't even hardly pick it up. And then they kept charging at my neighbor and hitting him, so he hit one of them with a bat. And it hit him in the eye, and it was self-defense. And when he hit the boy with the bat, they scattered back to their side of the road, and then the police showed up. And now we've been getting death threats. For the last couple days in the evening, they'll sit over there on their road, and they'll get rocks and bricks and hit them over here with a baseball bat to our houses.
The way this turned out is the cops came out and arrested her and the fellas for a big episode of violence. And so I got a call into her. This happened a year or so ago. I called into her to see how it ended up. Maybe if somebody out there wants to do some research, you could figure out what happened at the end of this. But the idea that you would arrest a victim for trying to protect her children, wow. That's just as crazy as Sacramento. California to Tennessee, everywhere in between. Where does this insanity stop? Well, eventually it's going to stop where we say it stops, when we say it stops. And then we're all going to have to figure out what we're going to do when that makes a lot of black kids angry.
When I bought the ass tomorrow, y'all thought it was rented. Flexing on these niggas, I'm like Popeye on the spinach. Double M, yeah, that's my team. Rose, the captain, I'm lieutenant. I'm the type can the men casting grind like I'm broke. That Lambo, my new bitch, she'll ride like my ghost. I'm riding around my city with my hands strapped on my toes. Cause these niggas want me dead, and I gotta make it back home. Cause my mama need that bill money, my son needs some milk. These niggas try to take my life, they fuck around, get killed. You fuck around, get smoked. Cause these Philly niggas I bought with me don't fuck around, no joke. No, all I know is murder. All I know is murder. All I